Hi everyone, I'm coming on again this morning to discuss another aspect of the awakening that happens during the blackening, the first phase of the alchemical process. And it's related to main character energies, so the main players um, that appear within our field during that phase to help us work through different aspects of our unconscious. And it's sort of like it comes up as like it's in a family constellation mode. And every person going through that phase is tapping into all of this unconscious material, all of this conditioning, the archetypal energies, everything buried within our unconscious, including our connection to our life force energy and our creative energies, archetypal energies, the mythological aspects of self, that language. And during that phase, as things intensify, when the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious mind opens up, um, the field is ripe and ready for us to start working through all of these things, events that have happened within our life and within our blood codes and our ancestors' lives and the lessons that they've learned that get channeled into us. And oftentimes from previous lifetimes, but not everyone's going to tap into that realm, that dimension of things. I tapped into my past lives really, really potently during that phase. The lives of my ancestors and what they lived through and everything that got encoded into my blood that way. But some people are really just tapping into unconscious material from within this lifetime. And what happens is there's within the field during that phase, the bridge opens up and our unconscious mind still needs to work through different, scenarios, different energies that the conscious mind is unaware of. So we're talking about like the golden shadow, all the aspects of self that, the positive aspects of self that we repress, which I find oftentimes is even a larger portion of that work for many, many people. But it's also the shadow material, the parts of self that we've repressed, negative emotions, what is considered negative emotions, negative feelings come up and get projected out into the field. So depending on, I think it really doesn't even matter, who these people are, these main characters that are playing these roles. To be honest, I think it's really the field itself becomes awakened and alive, and certain people become prominent to us, right? Because they're triggering different aspects that carry a similar frequency to aspects within the self that are unconscious. So, whatever similarities they have to those unconscious aspects create this link and this bond, which becomes enlivened. And these people end up playing out or aiding us in playing out these aspects. And I have to say that those people that awaken within the field for us, that we deem represent those unconscious aspects of self, aren't aware. Okay, so the majority of the time, unless you're connecting with a really, really spiritual person who has a lot of knowledge and psychic understanding of things, will have no idea what stories you're projecting onto them. But they become main character players in your process for development, personal development, for coming into closure, right? For coming into awareness, for coming into healing. And so throughout all these years, I've seen this play out again and again and again. And as during that phase, as your psychic energy expands, your visceral and somatic and um, unconscious connection to the universe, to your own power, wakens. These people tend to, it's like they step forward and they play these roles in a family constellation style, um, like a theater, like a play that's playing out. And so often people, including myself, can get caught. Often we can get caught in um, literalizing, right? Personifying these people as the cause, the root cause of all of these feelings that are coming up. And this is such an important part of understanding, because the confusion around it is what causes a lot of chaos when people are going through this initiation, through the first stage, the first veil. And so, as I mentioned, it's kind of like a random lottery. And yes, there are kind of soul contracts in there. There, past life connections, people that mirror our trauma. There's a lot of trauma bonding in that stage. But essentially, they could be, really random, disconnected people that just carry a specific frequency that we can connect to and relate to our own unconscious material with. And so the guidance for this stage is to not focus on the who is playing these roles for you, the person themselves. It's to pull back. Um, it's to refrain on personifying them, and it's about bringing what information you're receiving through those connections back into self to be worked through. So it's about um, remaining self-contained in those moments, remaining grounded, and allowing a certain amount of distance, right? It's like remaining professional with these people that are coming forward and that are embodying these archetypal energies for you. And I've seen again and again, and I went through this, is like, the golden shadow, for example, those positive aspects that we can admire in another. If left unchecked, the people that represent those golden shadows for us, we can end up putting them up on a pedestal, not seeing the person for who they are at all anymore. We're just connecting to that resonance within them, and then further project, right? Further disconnect ourselves from those aspects of self, because they are the embodiment, the external embodiment of that golden shadow. And so it's easy to continue to stay in a state of helplessness or disempowerment with those own qualities within the self. And so really seeing it for what it is, allowing these people to play the roles that they need to play within your initiation process, within your awakening, within your field, while maintaining a distance so that you can continuously return to self. And, if that main character is awakening and all of a sudden they're like part of your main story in your awakening process, keeping a distance, if they're part of that main character within your story, keeping a clear understanding, right? Understanding of what this is so crucial, because if not, there's like an entanglement and an enmeshment and a confusion, as if you continue to project, then you never access those parts within the self. And so I think, for example, depending on how distant that person is from you that's playing that role, often people can project things onto people they see on the internet, onto celebrities, onto like icons, onto people that are really inaccessible to them. I think that just denotes the level of disconnection that they have with those qualities within the self, right? So you know, if someone is really placing like certain celebrities on a pedestal, or heroes, right? They're heroes, and never owning those parts of self, like the integration work never gets done. So it's really about seeing what those qualities are that are seeking to be embodied, that are seeking to come into acknowledgement and awareness within the self. But where it can really get messy is with people that are playing those roles within close proximity, like within your actual life. So, for example, all of a sudden your neighbor takes on this archetypal energy for you, or someone at work, or someone you just met, friendship, relationship, what have you. And because that field becomes so enlivened, right, and the synchronicities that the right side of the brain, which I'm just calling right side of the brain because in society we speak of it in that terms, but I don't necessarily look at it that way. But the imagination of the person awakens, and these archetypal energies awaken around us so that we could play out these roles, right, to heal these different aspects of self. The confusion can cause a lot of chaos if we don't take ownership of all of these things that are occurring, because our field becomes so intensified when you're going through this phase, but the other person's field isn't being intensified in the same way. They are not going through that with you. And so there's the experience of the person going through the awakening versus the experience of the person playing that main character role or archetypal role for you is completely at odds. There's no shared experience there. And so it gets frustrating for the person because they're looking to connect to that aspect of self, and the way that it works is, we find something externally that represents that, try to connect to it, and then if we can't connect to it, and there's no reciprocated energy working back and forth between those two people, it can cause delays or blocks, right, in the person's awakening process. So coming into ownership of what is arising in that first veil, that projected field, with these main character players in the archetypal roles that they're playing for us, taking ownership is what truly allows us to come back into a grounded state of it's taking ownership of our experience. And in taking ownership of our experience, we allow everybody to play the roles that they have to play, but we don't go into needing them to reciprocate that same energy, right? We don't need them to apologize for different things that they're different experiences that they're invoking within us, because essentially they're not having the experience you're having, right? They're just playing the role. And so this is a huge aspect of finding a grounded process of working through all of this stuff coming out, coming up. And if you're lucky enough, you will encounter people who you can discuss these things with, and who will be like a kind of bouncing board, you know, mature enough, emotionally mature enough, and able to maintain a distance from the experience, right? So they can see the experience for what it is, and then be able to provide feedback in a loving and safe environment that allows the person to continue to slowly integrate what's coming up for them. And it takes a really strong person going through this phase, the blackening phase, to also maintain a distance from what feels so real and so palpable that's coming up in the field to be integrated, and the people that they're actually dealing with. So coming back into the self, spending a lot of time writing, you know, about what's coming up for you, without the impulsivity of feeling like you need to react to those main character players in your environment, I think is really, really key. And also having someone like a guide, you know, who you can speak with, who's been through this process for themselves, allows you to come into contact with different, you know, ways of integrating all of that shadow, because whether it's positive or negative shadow, it needs to come into ownership to release these people from the storyline, right? That's from the stories that have emerged in the field for you to integrate, you know, betrayals that have happened in your childhood. Because often it's mirroring, you know, these really big moments, whether it's like traumatic moments, you know, betrayal, unrequited love, you know, all of these different things that can happen within our lifetime, previous lifetimes, that get reignited through these family constellations with people. And, you know, in my last video, I talked about how palpable and how real the archetypal energies awakening, how they come alive, and they feel so real that it feels like, no, you know, this main character player, or this person that's playing this role for you, like, you know, you really believe that that archetypal energy is really the person causing all of these feelings, these intense feelings within you. But ultimately, it is you with these archetypal energies. And of course, you know, often they could arise through actual betrayals in this waking life, you know, that cause the person to go into initiation, to work through previous betrayals, but also, you know, the real minute details of their relationship with themselves, you know, and why there's these patterns, right, playing out in their life over and over. But very often there's just this huge disconnection, and these people just sort of pop out of the field, like, you know, and end up playing such a huge role. And it's, you know, often you hear they feel like there's a past life connection, like, because it's so strong, you know, the connection to that person is so strong that there must be something there. And then these stories just layer and layer and layer and layer on top of each other, to create chaos and discord within this realm, when ultimately they are deep, deep, deep projections from within the unconscious, and they're meant to be resolved. You know, they're not, these patterns are meant to be resolved. They're not meant to proliferate here. So staying grounded during these moments, and also being, you know, having a certain level of compassion with people who are going through this phase is so key. If you have this awareness and you have this knowledge, but also maintaining really healthy boundaries, to help bring clarity to the situation. And, and if you've gone through it, then, it's your job to become, a guide when these archetypal energies are awakened within someone around you, and you end up playing their main character role, which has happened to me tremendously as well. So it goes on both sides, right? And I think that's what allows, staying grounded and helping each other through these different phases, and not getting caught up in the storylines, looking for the root of the root of cause of why these are being awakened, like within the person, why these energies and these storylines are being recreated within their field, what it is they're trying to heal, what archetypal energies are awakening within them, to be embodied, what aspects of themselves are they repressing within themselves that really want to be owned, so we're all here kind of walking each other home, right? And I just wanted to bring this forward because it was another really, I think, important lesson that I learned. I had main character players over a decade ago that really embodied these archetypal energies for me. And this includes the anima animus, that embodying your masculine energy if you're female, that getting projected out onto males, in your environment. And then you get into the unrequited love stuff, or, the unhealthy relationship dynamics playing out that are really just mirroring that unhealthy relationship dynamic that you have between your masculine and feminine energies within. And I can say that it gave me a tremendous amount of awareness. Once I moved through, I was able to finally embody and see things for what they were. It gave me a tremendous amount of knowledge to be able to help other people with when they're going through that phase. Final advice about this is just to not be impulsive with the energy. When those archetypal energies awaken around you, go back into center and do the work with what they represent to you. What these people, what qualities do these people represent to you? And then look to reconnect with those qualities within, and observe what kind of blocks you have to reconnecting with those aspects of self, right? It could be anger and rage. A lot of repressed emotions could come up during that time, or just even blocks of life force, different judgments that you've made on yourself, unjustified, that your unconscious is looking to integrate, like, hey, you got to look at this, and you got to break down these judgments and be more discerning, right? So that you can embody more of yourself. So for people going through this phase, stay grounded, stay aware of what the process is. This is why I'm sharing this information, so that you can create less havoc in the field, less chaos in the field, as you move through this stage when things awaken so drastically, and it just feels like these these old storylines playing out, like they come back to life. Create a healthy distance and maintain healthy boundaries, so that everything can be taken back into the self, into ownership, into embodiment, so that these archetypal energies can really awaken fully within the self, to help you direct your life, in the ways in which you want to create and move, and have relationships with other people. So I hope this has helped. If you want to reach me, you can do so at Inspiring Playful Evolution. gmail.com. Take care.